Hello, my name is James Rada, and I'm going to talk about a good friend of mine, procrastination. This is something that I personally do, and I have noticed, for me at least, is that it definitely gets worse as the year goes on. I think this is because I slowly start to burn out as the year progresses, and I really just don't feel like doing anything anymore. But I'm working very hard to fix that and reduce the amount of procrastinating that I do, as I'm getting pretty tired of scrambling to get my work done at the very last minute. And of course, those sleepless nights. I also know that there are a lot of procrastinators out there that could just use help. My brother is a prime example of someone who puts things off until the very last minute, which I know is definitely screwing up his sleep schedule. Anyways, procrastination, like many of us know, is putting things off until the very last minute, even though we know that there can be very negative consequences. So I hope to explain why it's bad to procrastinate and try to persuade you to start using some helpful tips to help stay more focused and to get things done. Or you could just procrastinate, quitting procrastinating, as my brother always jokes, but that doesn't really improve your life. So, anyways. So, what exactly is procrastination? Other than just like, putting things off. According to a study published by the journal Psychological Science, procrastination is linked to avoiding negative emotions like stress or boredom. Some examples would be school responsibilities like assignments that students might not find interesting, busy work, or something already stressful like a test that they might not want to take or study for. There are also job responsibilities like filling out paperwork, sending emails to someone that you might not want to send emails to, cleaning up mistakes that you or someone else have made, or just doing like physical labor. And then, of course, there's just the stuff that's straight up overwhelming, like housework or yard work. And to continue on with that train of thought, the same study says that many people procrastinate because some tasks just seem too large or difficult. When people start, so when starting a large project, it can feel almost impossible to start or continue, and that is when people wait too long and the work piles up and it just becomes way more stressful than it really needs to be. For an example, cleaning your garage could be one of those projects. Yeah, it's a big project and can seem very overwhelming at first. And if you don't know where to start, or you know, you might just simply give up or never get around to finishing it. And this is because starting something it usually is the hardest part, and once you begin, it often tends to get easier, and you will tend to keep going. I don't really need to explain or think I need to explain and give you another example. You could probably think of a lot of projects and stuff like that that you'd have to do, and then just apply the same sentiment to it. So what does procrastination who does procrastination affect? They affect students, workers, and really anyone with responsibilities. So most of the teenage and adult population is dealing with this in the same way, which is really unfortunate for us. According to the American Psychological Association, procrastination can increase stress, lower performance, and lead to feelings of guilt, and can also negatively affect a person's mental health because it can create anxiety and a sense of helplessness. Since time continues on and no one can possibly stop it, and that feeling that just continues to build and it just gets way worse. And those deadlines, they're just not going to wait for anyone to delay their work. Another important point to keep in mind is that waiting until the last minute can lead to lower quality of your work because there is less time to research, think, edit, and chronic procrastination is also linked to higher levels of stress and poor time management. Going along with the whole poor time management part, procrastination can actually waste time because people will spend hours avoiding the work rather than doing it, and then when they end up getting to work, they end up rushing to finish everything, which usually leads to more mistakes, as I said, and takes longer than if you were to do everything earlier, because if you're rushing, you're going to make, yeah. So those mistakes can then also end up in the final project, and this just it can become problematic to someone if their career or anything depends on them doing the work correctly without having mistakes. And stress can also kill you slowly, and it's not really good for your health. So having less stress is definitely a good thing. Finally, I have some helpful tips on how anyone can solve this problem. One solution is to break projects into like smaller, easier parts so they don't feel as overwhelming as doing it all at once, because when you divide tasks into smaller steps, it makes it easier to get started and continue. But you need to make sure that you don't put off those easy parts, because you'll still be procrastinating. Another thing you could try is using a timer, like working for 25 minutes and then taking a short break. This is often called the Pomodoro technique, which helps people stay focused, avoid burnout, but it only works if you don't take super excessive long breaks. You could also set a deadline for yourself earlier than the real due date, so you're not rushing at the end. And then the two most helpful tips, in my opinion, is removing distractions by putting your phone away, turning off notifications while working, since this can motivate you to finish your work so you can then, get back to your phone. And as we know, research has shown that social media contributes to procrastination because it's designed to keep someone engaged for long periods of time, causing them to spend more time scrolling rather than focusing on the tasks that they need. And then another helpful strategy is to do the hardest part of an assignment first, and then everything else kind of just feels easier afterwards. But you need to make sure that you don't give up on the hardest part, or you might not end up doing the work, so you're procrastinating anyways. This works best when you remove distractions, as mentioned before. So overall, the best advice is, when in doubt, don't procrastinate, because many things can lead to it, and you need to stay aware to avoid falling into the habit of procrastination. So regardless, procrastination is a very common problem, but it is something that we can all improve on, and avoiding it can lead to a healthier lifestyle in general. And this can simply be as breaking tasks into smaller parts, better time management, avoiding distractions, and this can all help reduce stress and, again, improve your quality of life and your quality of work. And as always, thank you for your time. That fucking thing is 8